GPS and dash cams, protecting your assets, all on this edition of the Pest Geek Podcast.
Pull out your hose and grab your can. We're about to integrate another Pest Geek Podcast. Hi, everybody. Frank Hernandez here, and welcome to the Pest Geek Podcast, bringing you the latest information on pests, products, and politics from today's leading industry sources to help you start, manage, and grow your pest control business.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to another edition of the Pest Geek Podcast. I am your host, Frank Hernandez, here every day discussing all things pests. Hey, welcome to this edition. We're going to be discussing GPS and dash cams, which are brand new, really to the market, relatively new, and how they can protect you, how they protect your employees, how they create accountability, and how they're creating a bunch of stirrups. But before that, we're going to remind everybody, hey, join the conversation. If you want to comment on the Pest Geek Podcast, anything you listen to this, you're more than welcome to. We have a group for the listeners group. You can talk all about the podcast. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Tell me what I can do better. What do you need to know? And we're going to be adding some stuff to this podcast as we're going along. We're doing a daily podcast now. And we're going to be getting some new things in here. I got a new segment here that you're going to really like on this podcast. And we got some other things that I wanted to do that I haven't had the chance to do, but we're going to do it. And one of the ones that I've been saying for a while that I'm going to create is a segment called Harry Says. And Harry says a lot of things. And Harry says some things that are really cool. And he comes up with these daily acronyms and little motivational things on management and on sales. And, he's a brilliant guy, but, he won't put it on audio. So he puts it in these little texts. And I just think they're brilliant. So I'm just going to take them and broadcast them here every day. As often as he posts them, I will go ahead. And in case you're wondering who Harry is, well, it's Harry Bryan. Of Nisus Corp, the chief evangelist officer of Nisus. And he's really witty. He's got some really good stuff, really motivational stuff that he puts out that I think is worth sharing. So we got a new segment called Harry Says. And every time he posts something, I'm going to come up with a jingle for it and to introduce it, kind of like they did on late night, with David Letterman, Harry Says, and then you have the piano going. I'm going to do something like that. So every time the show comes on, we're going to go, Harry Says, and then we're going to tell you what Harry said. So Harry said today, Harry Says, and he said, you'll never be great if you're, and then he's got an acronym for great. And he's got 5 things that he's posted on there that you'll never be great if you're, and the G stands for going through the motions. If you're just going through the motions, you're never going to be great. If you are, is for resisting change. So if you're the person that just resists change all the time, everything that's new, you just resist it. You don't want anything new. You're never going to be great. And easily distracted. E is for easily distracted. And man, am I guilty of that. I mean, I'm like, look, a distraction. I mean, I get a phone call, I'm doing something, and my train of thought just went out the window, and I'm coming back to it, and I just can't, it takes me a couple of minutes to refocus again. Where was I again? So easily distracted. And then A, avoiding the difficult. If you avoid the difficult, you're never going to be great. And T is for taking more than giving. Boy, am I never going to be accused of that, because I give away the farm every day on this podcast. So, hey guys, that's our segment of Harry Says. So, hey, thanks for listening. And we're going to be, for those of you who are joining the conversation on Facebook and on our website, go to our website and check out what's going on. I'm going to be publishing some new stuff there this week. I've just been so swamped. I've been up since 3 o'clock this morning, believe it or not. It is about 8 or 9 o'clock here at night, I think, somewhere. It's somewhere at night, 8 or 9 o'clock somewhere. It's 9:18 right now at night. And I've been out all day. Then I taught a class in the afternoon about 1, and we finished there. And by the time I left, it was 4, and I went to go do an inspection. So literally, I've been up probably 16, 18 hours now. I don't even know how long it's been since 3 a.m. Doing an early service this morning and getting everything done. And I still have all this amount of energy, which I have no idea where it comes from, but this is the way I've always been. I'm wired in the evenings. This is why I record this podcast at night, because in the mornings I'm incoherent till about 10 a.m. I'm really incoherent. I'm barely human before noon. So, but anyway, we were discussing GPSs and dash cams. And GPSs and dash cam, every tool that is used for measuring or monitoring can be used for both good and evil. Okay, we know that anything can be used for good and evil. Good managers will use the data and the information to guide, lead, train, do things better. Bad managers are going to use it to punish. That's just a reality. So anything new that comes out, it's going to be either used for monitoring good or bad and improving the situation and getting rid of bad people who shouldn't be behind the wheel. Okay, nobody here that's listening to the podcast, if you're a normal human being, would say, you know what? Yeah, even if you're bad, but you're a good tech and you're a terrible driver and you put people's lives at risk, you should keep your job. No, driving is part of having a good driving record and driving courteously and driving nice, because you're driving a billboard around. And you should be courteous, and it's part of protecting the brand image. We have that. By the way, we do have a document that our employees sign stating the fact that we do have GPS on our vehicles and that things are monitored. And they're expected to maintain that driving record and a certain, there's a report that comes out every week that tells us our monitors their driving habits. And it doesn't only monitor GPS locations, it monitors speed and everything. And we're going to get into that. But part of being a good steward, and as managers and as owners, we are responsible for protecting the assets of the company. As an employee, you are a steward of what's entrusted to you. The idea that it's a company truck, it's company equipment, that it can be abused and that it doesn't have to be taken care of, that kind of person isn't going to last in our company very long with those attitudes. We understand that we are stewards of the things that we are given and entrusted to take care of. And if you're a good company, you're taking care of your people, you deserve for people to take care of your stuff, irregardless. It's just, part of just being, a normal human being. People feel that they're entitled to things and they don't have to take care of them because, the company has money. That just speaks volume of your character. It just speaks volume of your attitude and your attitude towards things and things that belong to other people. So you're responsible for taking care of the equipment. You're responsible for how you behave when you're on the road. You're responsible, but some people aren't. And we're living in an age where texting and driving and, how many times I live in Miami? There's 1.8 million people here. 80% of them shouldn't be here because they're visiting. and literally they did a study where I think we get visited by 80% of our population on an annual basis. This isn't even from here. It's visiting. We get people from all over. And we get people driving here also from all over the world, whether you're used to cutting people off in traffic. If you go to Central America, to Nicaragua or Managua, or you go to Colombia, or you go anywhere in the Caribbean, it's a nightmare driving. You go to Mexico City. You go to you could look at India, the traffic and the things that happen in India. And people come here and they bring their habits with them. And we're a melting pot here in South Florida. And you have no idea how many times a day I get cut off by people. And not only get cut off by people, by professional drivers driving, rigs and 24-foot trucks and just don't care. And they don't care that the name is plastered all over. They're just all over the place. So, we need and things that happen to protect the company and protect the driver. If you're a good driver, if you're a good employee, if you're honest, if you're doing your job, you shouldn't be worried that anybody is looking at you or that anybody's monitoring what you're doing. As owners, we have a right to do that. As managers, we have a right to do that. They think, well, what about our right to privacy? Okay, you're in a building, and if I work for large companies, and they let us know, hey, all the calls are monitored. Every incoming call is recorded. Every email that you use on a company email is monitored. We have to protect data coming in and data coming out. While you're in here, you really don't have a right to privacy. I mean, it's a general right. I mean, you go into the bathroom, you have a right to have a privacy in there. Anybody who puts a camera in a bathroom ought to get shot. But, generally on company property, there's cameras in the hallway, there's cameras in the offices. We know what people are doing. It's normal. You're in a bank, there's cameras everywhere. You're in a supermarket, there are cameras everywhere. The fact that you work on the street unsupervised with $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $70,000 worth of equipment, driving around in a mobile laboratory that if it gets into an accident, potentially could have a spill costing $500,000. I think it's prudent and judicious that owners take every effort to monitor things and be able to prove that their employees didn't do anything wrong in this case. And be able to save not only the employee from, because you're behind the wheel, it's your license, it's your driving record, it's your jail time, it's your fines if you get into an accident. And if we can back you up and protect you and say, I can save your butt because you were not speeding, you were not doing anything wrong, that guy cut you off, this is going to save your butt. Why? Because the reality is that there's scams going on, especially in big cities, where, cash for crash scams, because they know they can target fleets, they can target companies because they carry good insurances, they know they can collect. And it's a hazard. You being in a company truck, you're putting a bullseye on you. Okay, all of our vehicles are GPS monitored, but it doesn't monitor just your location. It monitors your speed. It monitors your driving and your braking. If you're going through a neighborhood that is 35, 30 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour, and you're going 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, it's going to alert us. Why are you driving that fast through a residential neighborhood? For what reason? If you're braking all the time and you're hard braking, it tells us two things. Number one is your driving sucks because you're tailing and you're constantly braking, or you're constantly on your phone looking down and all of a sudden that car red lights appear in the front of you and you're constantly braking hard, or you're accelerating hard for no reason every single 10 minutes. And people horse trucks. I mean, I drove trucks professionally. I drove for a trucking company. I understand what it's like to have a CDL. I have a different perspective. So all of these things it monitors, your breadcrumbs, where did you go that day? And it keeps your breadcrumbs of everything you did, your travel time. Why are you taking 30 minutes for a drive that takes generally 12? How much time at location, your fuel usage, your engine idling. And all these things can be used to improve drivers or make it worse. When I was driving a truck for a delivery company, every single morning, by the way, this was 18 years ago, every single morning we had to have a meeting and listen to our manager tear us a new one because they got another phone call that somebody cut somebody off in traffic. And since you couldn't know who it was, you didn't have a truck number, the customer, they didn't know who it was just one of your trucks and they had your phone number to the side, and I decided to call you. And we had to because there was a couple of guys who drove like tards and everybody had to hear about it. Now you can just say, hey, listen, part of your KPI, part of your compensation is your driving. Here is the threshold that we're going to hold you to. You're an 80% driver. We'll accept 20% flaws. But, this is really good driving according to good driving performance standards. And if you don't keep up with this, you can't work for this company because you're a hazard on the road. See, here's the problem. People in Florida and in a lot of cities, you can have, a driving record that's impeccable. Why? Because if you get a ticket, you take it to a traffic clinic or ticket clinic, and they know that if that police officer doesn't show up to court, and in a major city he isn't going to, it gets thrown out. So it gets thrown out and it never shows up on your record. Doesn't mean you're a good driver. It just means that you figured out how to get around the law. And if you drive like crap and then you're driving a company vehicle, then you need to be understanding that this is our reputation. These are our assets. And here's the thing in Florida. This is what you got to understand about an owner. Employees didn't understand this. I had to explain it to every single one of them. If you get into an accident, you're going to get laid off. Why? Because if we get into an accident, a guy rear-ended our vehicle. The shop that we sent it to was a disaster. It took 3 months to fix our truck. We almost went bankrupt on that one route. Because in the state of Florida, you have to have permanent signage on your vehicle. You can't use temporary signage. You can't rent a vehicle to go load it up with chemicals and then return it. You can't do that. So if you get into an accident, that vehicle is going to be off the road for any given minute of time, and we just can't go out and buy another vehicle to put you back on the road. You're going to get laid off. We're going to have to put it on other routes. You're going to have to run with somebody else. Something's going to happen. So you got to make every decision that you can not to get into an accident, not to have a problem where that vehicle is down. How you drive. All this can now be taken into consideration and make the driver a better person. With good coaching, good training, good feedback, saying, listen, your bonus, 80%. You get 75, you don't get your bonus this month. It's that simple. You reward the behavior you want. You want your bonus? Keep it under this. Keep it done. Here's an interesting statistic. The Road Haulage Association, the RHA, 50% of all their vehicles are now using dash cams, with another 30% actively considering. That means probably within the next year or two, 80% of those vehicles will have dash cams. Why? They know what the problems are. These guys put thousands and thousands of miles a year. The biggest problem you have with dash cams is vehicular voyeurism, where somebody gets the video and decides they're going to post it on YouTube or on Facebook or in a group. And, that can come back to bite you in the butt. You need to secure that data, that nobody has access to it, and that it's being kept in case there is a problem. It's being kept to be reviewed for management purposes, not for somebody to decide to post it on. You take the card out of the camera and you decide you're going to take it home, and then you think it's funny that you post a video of what the guy cut you off today or something that happened. Not a good thing. Dash cams can protect from robbery and vandalism, knowing who did it. You can even get 360-degree perspective. Here's the thing. You show up to how many times you show up to a house and say, oh, your guy was never here. When were you there? He didn't leave a note. And you can say, well, look at your camera or look at the video. I'm going to shoot you a video of where he was at 3:05 this afternoon in front of your house. In the case of an accident, you can get him out because you can prove that, yes, that guy cut him off and then hit the brakes. He was not following too close. Recording a video in public is a First Amendment right that is protected. You can record video in public without getting people's permission. You're out in public, you can get recorded and nobody has to get your permission. Cameras that are in front of buildings, cameras that are outside of vending machines, cameras that are outside of ATMs, they don't need your permission to record you. In most states, it just requires that you put up a sign and says, you're going to be recorded if you walk through here. Audio recording is a different matter. Most dash cams will have audio recording, and in most states, you got to warn people that they're being recorded. So, there is a pros, there is cons to everything. But like I said, if you're a good employee, if you're doing your job, if you're showing up to the house, you're following the protocols, you're following the procedures, you're doing everything according to the book, it should get you nothing but praise. As a matter of fact, your video can be used to show everybody else what a route should look like. what a normal service can be used as part of training. I mean, you can use it for good, guys. You can use it for evil. And, if you work for a company that uses everything for evil, then, you work for a crappy company and you should move on. But if you work for a good company that says, listen, let's sit down, let's talk about this. This is why I'm worried about this. This is what I need you to understand as an employee. I need you to understand that what you're doing isn't what you're supposed to be doing. And I need you to get this fixed. And if the person doesn't get it fixed, then you should get rid of that person anyway. I don't care how good of a technician they are. You set the precedent for other people to come and behave. Well, look at Joe's doing it, and nobody says anything. That happens all the time. So, guys, this has been a blast. I hope you're having a great day. I will see you again tomorrow.
Thank you for listening to the Pest Geek Podcast. If you have enjoyed the Pest Geek Thank you for listening to the Pest Geek Podcast. If you have enjoyed the Pest Geek Podcast, please give us a rating, write a review, or subscribe to the channel. You can join the Pest Geek Society by visiting pestgeekpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. See you next time.